Hello everyone, I'm here with Shad, and today we're going to be doing a new type of series. It's going to be on the canon books of Star Wars. I'm not quite sure if we're going to be doing Legends later on, but as of now we are focusing on the canon books. And today, the very first book in the series that we are reviewing is the AHSOKA book. So Shad, we want to get into our first topic, which is story.
I feel like we need to summarize it first. So, what happens in the AHSOKA book is pretty much she struggles to find her footing in the galaxy. She goes on Rada first. No, not Rada. She goes on a smaller planet. He goes on a bigger planet, and then she goes to like a farming planet, or she meets these farmers who are, Myaria and Caden, who are they're very independent. So when the Empire eventually comes along, there's like friction between the Empire and the farmers. So when a rebel, basically, they start rebelling against the Empire, they start to slow down their crops and stuff, and the Empire kind of notices, and so they become harsher. And so this one guy, he decides to blow stuff up, and AHSOKA eventually have to leave because they find out she's there.
Keep in mind, she tried to lead the mission, but they wouldn't listen to her.
Yes. So after that, actually, I'm kind of muddled up in my the story. So after that, I'm pretty sure Bail Organa kind of finds out what's going on. Like, he sees a report of a Jedi report. Like, oh, there's a Jedi here, and an Inquisitor does too. So there's an Inquisitor after her. I think she goes back to Rada, and she works for the family that she stayed with originally. So she works for them. And by the way, one of the children of the family she's staying with was Force sensitive. And so she kind of the Force sensitive child kind of described to her the Inquisitor, as in a dark shadow. So she was kind of aware that somebody was following her. And so as she works and stuff, she meets Bail Organa, and they kind of meet up and stuff. They talk, and then they find this holo recording. They get sent the holo recording, more AHSOKA to be specific, of Inquisitor holding Myaria and Caden hostage.
Actually, I think it was just Caden.
Oh yeah, Caden hostage, who was one of her best friends at the time. So she goes back to the planet where rebellion started, and she kills the Inquisitor. And she kind of just saves the entire. She leads the entire village.
Keep in mind,
to go to the ship.
The Inquisitor's blade, his crystals, she takes them for herself, and she turns them. That's her new white lightsabers in Rebels, by the way.
Yeah, she turns them into her she bleeds it pretty much white, the thing. And they go on the ship, assisted by the rebellion, and they kind of just evacuate from there, and that's the end. And in the end, the Grand Inquisitor kind of just looks over, and he sees the report and stuff.
So Shad, what did you think of the story? Now that you reviewed it and we kind of talked about, what do you think of the story in this book?
The story of this book I would say it's pretty solid. I don't think there's any major disputes I have about it. I like the feel of being hunted in books. It's nice to see AHSOKA having to always watch her back, always being cautious with others, which is, we haven't really seen that side of AHSOKA yet, because we always see her as she's always safeguarded by Anakin and Obi-Wan, that she doesn't really have to worry about somebody stabbing her in the back. But now she's on her own, and she's being hunted for actively. So I love the feeling of her being she has to prepare for anything. Anything could happen.
Pretty much, you think it's a solid review. You think it's a solid story, right?
Yes, I think it's.
I
solid.
agree. I think it's a solid story. I kind of liked it. I thought it was I was immersed into it. I thought the story went by a little bit quickly, but I was fine with that, cuz there was a lot to tell in such little time that was kind of leading her up to Rebels, and I enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting what she did. I didn't expect her to like become friends with like Kaden Maera, and like I just thought she kind of like kept to herself. I didn't think she did that big of things like freaking leading farmers and stuff like that. So that was very interesting to see. And the fact that she was so powerful that she could just beat that Inquisitor without even lightsabers. I like that. She literally, the Inquisitor had lightsabers and she didn't, and she was able to beat him very easily. It showed how far she had come as a fighter and a Jedi as well. Well, she's not really a Jedi, but I technically think that she's a gray Jedi, in my opinion. So, anyways, we're gonna get into the main character, which is Ahsoka, and I kind of brushed on that already. What do you think of Ahsoka? Do you like what they did with her character? Do you think they kind of nailed it, or is it, what do you think?
I think they kind of nailed her character pretty well. The fact that she wouldn't leave my area and stuff, that definitely showed her compassion and stuff, which we did see in Clone Wars. So that I think they did that very well. Also, she was still nice to the family, like the girls that kind of befriended her in that one moon that she stayed on. Even though like she kind of didn't want to, she didn't really want to talk to them that much because she was trying to hide. But she still tried to keep a happy face, even though it was obvious in her mind that she was like, oh, I don't want to talk to these people. So I mean, it definitely showed her niceness in this one. Like I think they did very well on her character, on her part. She was decisive, but she was also kind of compassionate at the same time. So I think they did very well.
Yep. Alright, so I think we both agree that Ahsoka was a pretty good character, that we nailed her, the story and the writer kind of nailed her. But what do we think of the side characters? Basically focusing on Kaden, Mira, and Bail. There was other side characters, but these are the main side characters. What do we think of what do you think of all the side characters?
Maera and Kaden, they were kind of like, especially Kaden, they were kind of like typical side characters. They were kind of generic a little bit, but as the book continues on, you can really you start to get a connection between Ahsoka and them, like, and you understand it a little bit more. So I thought they were all right. They weren't really anything special, but they weren't bad either. So.
And how about Bail?
Bail. Oh, I love Bail in this one. Again, it showed his how he grew the rebellion, pretty much how he's basically the father of the rebellion, and how he's responsible for a lot of the successes and stuff. So I really liked seeing Bail and doing that and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, for me, I thought Kaden and Mara at the beginning were kind of generic, as you could say. As the book went on, I actually kind of liked Kaden, by the way. She was probably the main side character. I liked her. I thought she was pretty good, and I liked seeing how like her decisions she did, like how she walked out of the cave to save her friends, how she kind of had like a spunky attitude, like kind of like sarcastic when she was talking to Ahsoka. I like that, and how she forgave Ahsoka for lying. Mira was the younger sister. I thought she was a little bit more generic, like, oh, the scared one, needing Kaden for help. I didn't like her as much, but I think I thought she was pretty good. Bail, I thought, I really like how they fleshed out his character. They made him, it showed more, because in the movies, we saw Revenge of the Sith at the end. He took Leia, pretty much it. And then we saw a little bit of Rogue One for him. And then A New Hope, he was already dead. So we didn't really get to see much of how he grew the rebellion. So I like how this book brushed up on it just a little bit. And I think maybe we could get a Bail Organa book, maybe. That would be pretty interesting. But yeah, I still liked that this book delved into it when the movies didn't really didn't really. So yeah, I agree. I think the side characters are pretty good. So how about the villains now? Let's the main villains are pretty much the Empire, aka the Stormtroopers, and the Inquisitor. What do we think of those? You can go on first.
I think the Empire as a villain, like the overarching Empire pretty much, was very intimidating. Like, you could see the power, what they had and stuff, what the resources they had. They had so much more resources than AHSOKA and the Farmers. They could pretty much wipe them out if they wanted to. So it was nice having this kind of dread on, a feeling of dread, because they were outmatched. So I really liked that. Inquisitor felt kind of... I mean, I feel like he could have stood a little bit more of a fight to AHSOKA. But I do understand that AHSOKA was very, very powerful at the time, so I'll give it a pass for that. Like I said earlier, it's nice to see this AHSOKA having to struggle, having to adapt to not having as much resources as the Empire. So I do like the villains of this book.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Empire was nailed off pretty good. Like, you know, it kind of reminds me of the movies and how Luke and Han and Leia had a fight against the Empire. Just like this little squad against this huge Empire. It was nice to see, so I think they nailed that good. I think the Inquisitor was kind of, for me at least, just like any other Inquisitor. You know, like those Inquisitors in Rebel Season 2. Kind of like them, except weaker than that even.
Yeah.
You know, because even though Inquisitors in Season 2 were able to, like, not die instantly, and she had lightsabers, so I think this was a weaker Inquisitor, like, just like a brute. So he was alright. I maybe wish for, like, a stronger, more menacing type of villain, but I understand the book really didn't want to focus on the villain. They want to focus on the, you know, the hero.
Yeah, like, I think they should make a book about the Grand Inquisitor, for sure. Like,
yeah, I agree. I don't think someone like Kanan should have taken down the Inquisitor, in my opinion. But anyways, let's move on. Now let's get on to the conclusion and rating. The conclusion of this book, I think it was pretty well crafted. I think that mostly all the choices that were made in this book were pretty good. And as I said before, I think Ahsoka was done well. I thought the villains were decent. That the side characters were pretty well structured, which makes for overall good read. And one gripe I do have with this, I think the climax of the story did come a bit late. And when I mean the climax, I mean is when the Inquisitor killed all the farmers, you know, except for like Hayden. I think that climax came late in the book. Like, normally it's in the middle of the book, but it came near the end. So that's my one.
Disagree.
Yeah, we'll talk about your conclusion at the end. But anyways, but again, I thought it was pretty fast. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with the fast-paced story. In my opinion, some books should be fast-paced. It really like makes you want to read more and more of the book, which I did. I did like that. My overall rating for this book, I would give an 88% out of 100, which is pretty good. So about a 8.8 out of 10, which is a pretty good read. How about you? What do you think of the conclusion rating?
I would give it around 8.5. No, actually 8.5. No, that's a B. I'd give it like a 9.3. It did have some flaws. I don't think I've read better books for sure, but it is, like he said, it is a good read. I disagree with what you said about the climax. I think the climax was not when the Inquisitor killed everybody. I think it's when, in the end, when what's it called, Topin died. When one of the people died, and Ahsoka had to reveal her Force powers. Like, that's when I think the climax was really. That's when it really happened. That's what I think.
Yeah, maybe.
So I think, yeah, like I said, very good read. I think it's a good way to bridge the gap between the Clone Wars and Rebels. to kind of like connect those two. It's like the middle ground. So I think they did a very well job with Ahsoka's character, and they did very sufficient enough side characters and very menacing villains. So I would say overall 9.3, really good read. I recommend it.
Alright. Anyways, guys, hope you liked our review. We're going to be making more reviews on these canon books in the future, so be on the lookout for that. This is going to be an ongoing series. And tell us in the comment section down below, did you see this book? Did you like it? Give us your rating. Anyways, with that being said, this is Entertainment Crew, out.